Good evening. Tonight, I take you on a journey of discovery. A discovery where we find out the answer to the question you've always never known you've wanted answered, and that question is, can the full-sized arcade controller for Project Diva F be used in Project Diva F 2nd? So how does that giant controller actually work? The buttons themselves need no introduction. They are big and they glow. But, as we know, a PlayStation 3 controller does not have a touchpad on it. So what of the touchpad on this controller? The controller of epic proportions. Here's how it works. The touch panel acts as one of the analog sticks. You can choose which analog stick by setting the LR switch on the top right of the controller. The point on the panel that you touch corresponds to the point or angle that the selected stick is moved to. For example, if you touch the top middle of the pad, it is the same as pushing an analog stick all the way forward. Not touching the panel is just the same as not touching an analog stick. It'll rest in the center position. So, the controller can be used in other games, although there are no L2 and R2 buttons, and I must change the LR switch constantly to use the analog stick that I need most. Okay, so the touch panel acts as one analog stick. So, what happens if I try 2 points at once? The input behaves unpredictably. For instance, sometimes the top right will take precedence over bottom left. Sometimes it does not. Okay, so that is how the controller works. What about Project Diva F 2nd? What are the new mechanics? In Project Diva F 2nd, we have 2 new notes, link star and double star notes. Link star notes are played exactly the same as any other regular note, just that the star itself doesn't explode on a hit. Instead, it follows a path and reveals a pretty picture at the end. These are annoying. They don't follow the conventional relation between note spacing and timing. Instead, they have a habit of changing speed of movement on screen. For example, they may move really slowly for a few notes and then suddenly speed off to the next. This can easily catch you off guard if you do not pay attention to the timing hands on the notes themselves or have simply learned by experience. Then, there are double star notes. Double star notes are triggered by flicking both analog sticks at the same time.
Both analog sticks at the same time. Murder.
But the arcade controller only has a single touch panel and a switch to choose which analog stick we are using. So, we have no choice but to miss every double scratch note? Or do we? Let's put it to the test. We may have forgotten one key element, and that is, Sega knows that this controller exists. The controller does not just simply emulate a standard controller. Instead, it has drivers, or information inside, that Project Diva F 2nd can detect to know to treat the double star notes differently. F2 won't always consider the touchpad as both L and R sticks at the same time, however. For instance, if you double hit that final star note in a chance time, the alternative PV will not trigger. When using this controller, you simply cannot block the alternative PV. So this tells us that the game knows when you're using this controller, and as a result, dumbs down the double star notes as singles. Outside the music rhythm aspect, the analog sticks will act separate, such as the left stick being for camera control and the right for being zoom in the Diva room. So, you can use the controller to play F2, but how does it fare in real-world gaming? In reality, at least for me, the touch panel is not reliable. Let's see what realistically my hit percentage is during a segment which F2 throws a lot of star notes at you, which is not uncommon. From the digging I've done online, and other users' comments here on my channel, such as Kazesai's visit to Anime Expo, the consensus is that everyone has issues with this touch panel. It's only really useful in songs that rarely or never have star notes in them. Does that mean, even though the controller technically works, we can't really use it? Is there anything other than modding the controller that we can do? Actually, yes. There are two things that we can do. F2 has a help item which moves the star notes off the analog sticks and onto the LR buttons. Let's try it! Okay, so that worked, and it was very fun. But, as you may already be thinking, why on earth is that a help item and not just a standard option? This is a problem. It means we must reduce the points we earn while playing songs, and we can't mix help and challenge items, stripping us from the ability to present ourselves with harder challenges and faster point earnings. So, is there any other option? Well, actually, yes, there is. Check this out. Wait, so this game accepts inputs from all currently connected controllers, not just one? Ha! So I could potentially turn this into a co-op game. You do the X and circles, I'll do the triangles and squares, and Bob, if you're watching, you can take on the star notes. Alternatively, with the use of a little blue tack, we can stick a regular controller nearby. Armed and ready for whenever star notes show up. And now, my friends, we can ignore the touchpad and the help items completely. It does take a little bit of getting used to as you're jumping from glorious giant shiny buttons down to tiny little sticks, which are higher than the rest of the buttons. Get too excited and you might falcon punch the controller out of the playfield instead of graciously move your hands across and over the sticks. All in all, it's doable, it is still fun, but I find that due to the touch panel's reliability, or unreliability, I will resort to having the standard controller nearby. Something which is not an issue with the much cheaper arcade mini controller, as that has the 2 analog sticks built in. No touch panel. Thank you. Click to see the original look at this controller, which also covers the A-B switch and the interchangeable buttons. Or might I invite you to watch me fail miserably, challenging myself with the arcade button layout in Dreamy Theater Extend.
Now I'm trying to speak with my holding the cheeks really wide away from my face. It kind of makes me sound strange.